This is the story of a woman who is extraordinarily beautiful, who was not liked since her childhood. Even the people who loved her, even her own father, leave her. Let's find out what happens next in this story. The story begins with Enzel, a girl who sells her body for money. Men are obsessed with spending time with her. One day, she recalls her childhood. She was excited because her father was coming to visit her. However, her father didn't talk to her much. Enzel told him, "Your gift was beautiful," which made him angry. He threw her out of the house. Outside, Enzel overheard her parents arguing. Her father said to her mother, "I gave that gift for you, not her." Her mother tried to explain that she was their daughter, but the father furiously declared her an illegitimate child and left. Hearing this shattered young Enzel. In the next scene, we meet a farmer working alone on his farm. One day, he goes to church and prays to God, saying, "You've given me everything, but please grant me a life partner." The farmer comes to town to sell his produce, where he first sees Enzel walking outside. Instantly, he falls in love with her. A friend informs him that Enzel is a woman who entertains men for money. However, the farmer, Michael, doesn't care and expresses his desire to marry her. Michael learns about Enzel's past, how her father abandoned her mother, forcing them to move to another place. Enzel's father had given her mother some jewelry, which they tried to sell during their financial struggles. However, the jewelry turned out to be fake. Desperate for money, a shopkeeper offered to pay if he could spend the night with Enzel's mother. Enzel's mother, out of sheer helplessness, was taken advantage of. Enzel suggested they should leave the place and start anew. Her mother agreed, but fell ill shortly after and passed away. Meanwhile, after completing her work, a pimp confronts Enzel, accusing her of hiding money from him. However, Enzel's boss intervenes and threatens the pimp, forcing him to leave. Later, Enzel prepares herself again, but Michael arrives to meet her. Michael and Enzel engage in a conversation. Michael tells her, "I didn't come here to do anything. I just want to talk to you." He asks her age, and Enzel questions him about his work. Michael reveals that he works on a farm and expresses his desire to marry her. However, Enzel asks him to leave. Michael pleads with her, saying, "Please say yes. I genuinely want to be with you." The second night, Michael comes to Enzel again. Enzel tells him, "You're wasting your money. Many people want to marry me." Thus, another night passes for them. The next morning, Enzel's friend talks about Michael. She tells Enzel that Michael likes another girl. Enzel responds, "I don't have a problem with that." At night, the girl meets Michael and says Enzel sent her. Michael becomes angry and confronts Enzel. Enzel tells him, "You're still wasting your time." Michael replies, "I won't come back because you don't understand my feelings." He tries to explain and kisses her. Enzel starts liking Michael, but he says, "Everything will happen only after marriage." Enzel responds, "I don't love you." Michael becomes furious and leaves. A flashback shows childhood. After his mother's death, a man took him to a place. A woman working there requested the man to take the girl somewhere else. The man goes to the boss's office and starts drinking. When the boss arrives, he gets angry, telling her, "From now on, you will work only for me." Years later, as Enzel grows up, she is forced into the same work. One day, her father arrives. Seeing Enzel, he realizes his grave mistake and shoots himself. Fearing trouble, a woman working there helps Enzel escape. Enzel boards a ship, but the men on the ship eye her. Some girls tell her, "You can earn money by sleeping with many people." Enzel agrees. When she reaches the city, the girls steal her money. The scene shifts to the present. Enzel is seriously ill and has a fever. Her friend asks her what happened. Enzel says, "I got sick thinking about Michael after he left." While talking with her friend, her boss, during dinner, asks, "What will you do after leaving here? Will you marry or do some other work?" Enzel changes her mind and demands her money back. The boss gets angry and refuses. Enzel insults the boss, who orders her men to her. That night, Michael dreams something bad has happened to Enzel. The next morning, he arrives at her place. He tells the boss, "I'm taking her with me," and offers money. Michael then asks Enzel, "Will you marry me?" Enzel says yes, and the two leave for home together. Enzel says, "You gave the boss too much money." Michael replies, "I care about you and am willing to pay any price for you." Enzel responds, "I will return all your money, and after that, I will leave." Michael laughs at this and gives her some clothes to wear. Enzel asks, "Are these your wife's clothes?" Michael explains, "These belong to my sister, but she's no longer with us." Michael takes care of Enzel for several days until she recovers. One day, when Michael is out, Enzel leaves the house. When Michael returns, he finds his ring missing. Meanwhile, Enzel is running through the forest, but Michael finds her. Enzel tells him she doesn't want to stay, but Michael gives her a jacket and water, saying, "The journey is long, and you might need this. If you still want to leave, you can go." When Enzel doesn't respond, Michael returns home. That night, Enzel comes back to Michael's house. Michael treats her injured legs with ointment and bandages. Enzel asks, "Why do you care about me so much?" Michael replies, "I like you." Now, Enzel wants to be close to Michael, but he refuses. refuses, saying, "I won't do this until you truly love me." The next morning, Enzel says, "I can pretend to be your wife until I pay back all your money." Michael then teaches her farm chores, like chopping wood and fishing. At night, Enzel asks Michael if she can sleep close to him, but he refuses. Enzel says, "I don't understand you." Michael then goes outside to bathe. Later that night, while Enzel is asleep, Michael approaches her and tries to be close to her, but she wakes up. Seeing him there, Michael says, "We need to go somewhere." Enzel asks, "Where are you taking me in the middle of the night?" Michael takes her to a hill and says, "Take this moment to decide about your life." Enzel replies, "I don't even know why I'm here. You treat me like your wife, but don't romance me." The two kiss, and when they return home, their love story begins. The next day, Paul visits Michael's house. Paul is Michael's brother-in-law. He asks Michael how he is doing, and Michael tells him that he has gotten married. When Paul meets Enzel at home, he is shocked because he had seen Enzel in the city before. However, he doesn't say anything about her at that moment. Later, when Michael leaves the house, Paul talks to Enzel privately. He asks her about her past. Enzel replies that all men's faces look the same to her now. Paul accuses her of doing wrong things and tells her that Michael shouldn't have trusted her. Enzel defends herself, saying that Michael approached her on his own. Paul doesn't believe her and later speaks ill of Enzel to Michael. This angers Michael, and he punches Paul. When Enzel learns about this, she feels terrible. Michael reassures her to forget her troubled past. At this point, a flashback reveals Enzel's story. When she became pregnant in the past, her boss called a doctor and instructed him to perform a procedure that would ensure she could never become a mother again. Enzel underwent the operation, which left her deeply scarred emotionally. The next day, Paul prepares to go to the city, and Enzel asks to accompany him. However, deep inside, Enzel wants to distance herself from Michael because she cannot give him a family. After Michael leaves, Paul meets Enzel again and expresses his desire to be with her. They become intimate, and Paul takes Enzel to the city. Upon reaching the city, Enzel discovers that her previous home has burned down and her friend perished in the fire. Devastated, Enzel tells that she will restart her previous line of work, but will keep all the money for herself. When Paul returns, Michael confronts him and asks if he had taken Enzel to the city. Furious, Michael tells Paul to return to his home. Michael then goes to Enzel and asks her if she wants to stay in the city. When she says no, he brings her out of the area. However, the locals try to stop them, and Michael fights them off. Enzel confesses to Michael about her involvement with Paul. Michael reveals that he already knew everything. Enzel questions why he didn't let her stay in the city. Michael replies that he loves her and wants to be with her. Enzel, filled with regret for her actions, apologizes, and Michael forgives her. The next day, the two are happy together. Enzel starts supporting Michael and gradually learns to adapt to her new life. One day, they see a family passing by, including a pregnant woman. Michael invites them to stay at their home to rest. Among them is a girl named Maria, who befriends Enzel. Maria asks Enzel how she and Michael met. Enzel tells her everything honestly, and the two become close friends. Here, Michael had forgiven Paul, and there was a delivery in the family, with a baby being born. Michael and Miriam both took care of the baby. Enzel thought that Michael and Miriam made a very good couple. The next day, Enzel asked Michael about Miriam, and Michael said that he only loved her and that no one else mattered. Enzel replied that she could not be pregnant, to which Michael said nothing. Afterwards, they had breakfast and went to another place where they made love. The next morning, Enzel wrote a letter to Miriam with Michael's ring, saying that she and Michael could start a good family together. Miriam came to Michael and told him about Enzel. She said, "You should go and stop Enzel." But this time, Michael said, "If Enzel wants to come, I will definitely bring her." Meanwhile, Enzel reached a hotel and asked for a job as a cook. She got the job, but one day, the boss's man saw Enzel working and later set the hotel on fire. Michael was missing Enzel a lot. One day, her boss came and wanted to take her again, but Enzel refused. The boss, however, threatened her and forced her to work for him. After this, Enzel prayed to God. Eventually, she exposed the boss. Upon hearing this, people got angry. They then punished the boss. 3 years later, Paul arrived in the city for work and saw Enzel. He followed her and found her in a school. He met Enzel and asked her about her work. Enzel explained that she was educating helpless girls like herself and providing them with a place to live. Paul was very impressed by this. He then told her that his wife was Miriam, which surprised Enzel. Paul explained that Miriam considered Michael like a brother, and Michael still loved Enzel and was waiting for her. He advised her to go back to him. Enzel then came to Paul and revealed her real name was Sarah. She said she had come to say, "I love you." Enzel also apologized to Michael, and Michael put his mother's ring on her finger. At the end of the movie, we see them with a child, and the story concludes. For more romantic videos like this, subscribe to the channel and keep watching.